And welcome back to Pure Nebraska. On Wednesdays, we do like to hear from the farm group Common Ground.
Common Ground is a group of farm women who want to be a resource for consumers who want to know more about how their food is grown. Joining us now to talk more about how cattle producers work hard to use feed wisely is Joan Ruskamp. And Joan, nice to see you today.
Thank you. Good to see you too.
How's everything in Dodge?
Good, good. Nice brisk morning, like you mentioned. But yeah, it's November, right?
That's right.
So,
Right.
Yeah, it's
We're
great.
ready for it. I know you have a
Great fall.
busy week. You're going to the Farmer Conference like we are.
Right, right. I'm on a panel there and then down to Kansas City for a broadcasters convention to talk about beef because I'm on the beef board, and so doing a little travel these next 2 days. So I'm really glad for that sunny weather and no ice, snow, those kind of things that we can have in Nebraska any time of year.
So your husband's on his own.
He is.
There we go. Well, we want to talk about food waste, and that's a big issue. Cattle producers take that issue very seriously, and maybe talk about how your family works to handle it.
Sure, right. So as farmers, it's our top priority to use our resources very wisely. And so as a cattle feeder, we keep our inventory fresh. So we use a distiller's grain product that's made through using corn for ethanol. We only get a load as often as we need it to feed our cattle, and so between that byproduct, corn, the earlage, we cover that pile. It's packed real well and covered and kept tight so it stays fresh. So we're managing our nutrients much like people manage the groceries they buy. And then when we feed our cattle, they're only getting fed what they will eat. And so there's no waste when we're loading that feed, managing those nutrients, and then feeding it to the cattle, because we know when we manage our resources well, we're taking better care of the environment.
You know, it's just interesting and good to know that this is happening, but you know, in our own homes, maybe we're not doing as good of a job as the cattle producers by, you know, maintaining food waste or avoiding it, I guess I should say. And it sounds like we are wasting a lot of food in America. Is that true?
Yes, we could fill the Rose Bowl Stadium, which is 90,000 people, every single day. We could feed them on the food that we waste in our country. And really, when you think of all the people who are food insecure, it's really a shame, because we can control it. This is something every person out there watching can say, I can do something about this. And if it's not just the resources, because you think about the sun, the energy, and all that went into growing that plant or that animal, that's being wasted too. Not just the fact that you're throwing whatever you're throwing into the trash, but everything that went into producing it. So if that isn't enough to convince people are motivated, $2,500 a year, and how you can spend that might motivate people to think, how can I do certain things to reduce food waste for our family? And some of that includes being more creative with recipes and managing. A lot of waste comes from leftovers and not using those. And my husband is king of using leftovers. He will throw things together you would never put together to make something creative, because we don't always want to eat the same thing 3 or 4 meals in a row. And so the Beef It's What's for Dinner website does a lot of that with roast and steaks, being creative and finding dishes you can make from last night's supper into breakfast the following morning.
Okay. Well, I know you have some tips here.
I do.
And we have these on the screen here. Use what you have. So
yes,
we talked about that, using ingredients that you already have, and go to Beef What's for Dinner, because that does help you, give you some inspiration, I should say.
Right, right. Sometimes we just need maybe a different spice or something, or a different way of taking your roast beef that you cooked or baked, and then putting it with some olive oil or something and frying it and make it into something more with a different cuisine. And so just having some variety, but yeah, taking what you have and maybe changing up. I was talking to a guy on a plane who makes all our brisket, and he makes brisket breakfast burritos every morning because he loves the flavor of brisket, and so he takes it to his breakfast, not just a noon meal. And so being creative with what we're eating. Pizza has often been the cold pizza for breakfast. I think a lot of us are used to doing that, so maybe in our other foods. And then taking stock of your inventory. We're keeping our inventory fresh and we're using it as we buy it. So when we go to the grocery store, even if we're really hungry, not to load up on some of those more perishable fruits and vegetables and those kind of items, but be careful and make sure you're going to use up what you're buying before it's going to perish.
Boy, I'm inspired right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you can save $2,500 annually,
right?
You know, you're saying that Americans lose that every year on food waste. That's an inspiration right there.
Right, and people can go. There's a 30-day food waste challenge, and they can find that at that Beef It's What's for Dinner website, and Common Ground would also link to that to help people find it. And it sends you emails every day to help you see, you know, what you can do in your own home. And this is something every person can do. It's hard. It's just something we have to make as a priority.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Joan, thank you, and you're going to stick around.
Yes.
We're going to cook over here. I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you.
All right.